And now, Radha Basu, CEO and founder of iMerit, and Raghavan Srinivasan from Facebook AI discuss AI data solutions, key elements of successful ML data ops.
Wow. Welcome back from a superb day of listening to the thought leaders, global thought leaders in the space about how to scale and taking AI into production and the entire role of ML data ops in the equation that ML ops equals ML model ops plus ML data ops. And today was all about the ML data ops. For me, it was a really interesting and informative being in the audience. You know, what happens to CEOs who run tech companies? We are so focused on our technologies, our solutions that solve the world's problems. And a key learning for me today, and something that has been part of our design, is that there is no magic box. This is going to happen. AI and ML is going to be ubiquitous by bringing together an ecosystem and solutions that actually bring together a number of players. And it was so strong, the learnings together today about the fusion. And so with this, I'm going to invite my dear friend Raghavan. And Raghavan, you bring into this a perspective. Over the last few years, you have had and looked at AI and going into production at a scale and with the breadth of applications and volumes of data that really hardly anyone else has seen that kind of received that kind of perspective. And I'd like to ask you to comment on today and just share your thoughts.
For sure. Well, first of all, Radha, thank you so much for inviting me to this event, having me be a part of this event, and also even this conversation. I have to say, as much as we've had a chance to work with ML, at Meta over the last several years, a large part of what comes up in discussions is really the innovation that happens around models. And for me, today was a really good reminder yet again of how important data is. Data really, at the end of the day, holds the key, right? And it is not some static entity, it's a living, breathing thing. And as it changes and as it shifts, the systems that we build also have to adapt and adopt. And it was really awesome to hear from so many industry thought leaders today. And then I was especially interested in hearing from a lot of the leaders, because that is an industry where it's not just, starting with the labeling, but going all the way to the end. And as we start to see deployments of these out in the field, being able to learn and then establish an active learning loop and bring it all the way back in, I think that piece is really, really critical. So I really thought this was a mind-blowing day, chock full of amazing tidbits and also amazing knowledge. What are some of the biggest, light bulbs that went on for you today as you were sitting down and listening to these sessions?
Oh, surely a lot of light bulbs. First, I would start with, we did a survey of, as you know, there are like 2,200, 2,400 registrants. I don't even know the number. It's awesome, the total number of people. So we did a survey, and 95%, among other questions, said high quality annotated data is essential to the long-term success of your ML. That's what you said. And secondly, they said leveraging human intelligence and insights is critical to solving edge cases and advancing AI. That came from the participants in this summit. I'll tell you, for me, some of the key things I learned that I probably don't think about every day. The NLP spreading to speech. There was this great panel with the four ladies. Oh, I really enjoyed it. And talking about 15% are new queries on Google. Voice systems, 50% calling and using some voice tech, and that speech is the new UI. That was a key learning for me in terms of how we need to integrate the speech aspects into the entire AI ecosystem of computer vision, content, image, video, text, etc., and into speech. I think that was a big takeaway. The second one that came out of the folks talking about the AR, VR things is about underrepresentation of data and the importance of integrating in having some synthetic data, though it's not the be all and end all of things, but having that to compensate for the underrepresented data. I tell you one thing that came from the conversation between Hussein and you, and it was very close to my heart. Fusing the fusion of humans and robots in that loop, right? And why this has been something I've truly believed in, but hearing that human intelligence and fusion of the robotic intelligence in that loop, and it is an ongoing loop, came through loud and clear from the speakers, but particularly from your discussion, your fireside chat between you and Hussein. And there were a couple of other things, the local context that Chinua brought in, and being the importance of designing for the local context. And this is particularly true when you look at behavioral modeling in AV, in autonomous mobility, because the local context is as important as being able to design globally. So making sure that's when we go in and do our mapping solutions, the importance of the local context becomes exceedingly important. And I would say for me, the removing friction by the end-to-end solution supplying high-quality data. Maybe I heard that loud and clear because it's loud and clear in my brain, and that's how we design everything we do, is the removing friction by end-to-end solution and high-quality data, and bringing together the technology, talent, and techniques to address that. So those were my takeaways.
Yeah, look, all of those resonate with me, but really the one that really stood out for me was the last one that you mentioned, right? Removing friction is something that you always talk about in the context of a lot of consumer experiences, but even in the case of something very enterprisey, in this like deeply technical space, there is so much friction that can really come in the way of getting your job done. And I think there's a huge amount of innovation that can happen in thinking about tooling and actually rethinking it with data at the center. And how do you then provide almost like, a command and control center for the practitioners to be able to come in, visualize the data as it goes through the entire life cycle, and then to be able to tweak it and learn from it. And I don't really think there are enough products out in the market today. I think there's a huge opportunity for us to build some really important sets of tools. So I'm actually curious, as you start to think about, where this space is going, how you see this evolving, and what are some of the things that might be interesting for you and your teams to also work on?
I think this last point, let's talk about this a bit. Data at the center, highest quality data at the center, and building the nerve center to be able to, whether we label or map, the validation, the monitoring, and the infra to be able to have the highly secure and very grounded enterprise-grade infrastructure, and having data at the center of it, and looking at the data from a dashboard point of view. And dashboard sounds very simple, but it is a lot about, like a ground control. And this is kind of what we named the product, as we've been sharing the information with you. When we look at this design of the data studio concept and being able to bring in the various aspects that allow us to do like a nerve center control monitoring. My background, I come from a lot of the network center, network software, OpenView, things like that. And so this monitoring and the ability to have the control center and being able to look at the data, because the data is on a constantly evolving basis, right? What is working today is already become part of the model, and you're encountering new things, and you're encountering in every stage you want to have the highest quality data. So this becomes a loop between the intelligence, what we're calling experts in the loop, which is the new term that's come out, and the robot in the loop, right? And if you put those things together and really work on providing the best dashboards, what we call RAY, reporting, analytics, insight, and the technologies around it. And behind this are various partner technologies, right? Which there's a whole virtual booth today with partners showing their best-in-class technologies around computer vision, NLP, and being able to aggregate all this together to be offering an end-to-end solution. And I liked particularly, but while we designed this, and this is part of the end-to-end solution, that is I would say, the design mantra for iMerit, working with our clients. I think the one thing that Amanda said today about having the partner, and for her, the partner is the company they work with or the set of companies they work with. She talked about the agile process and working with it along the way. That is much more successful than just giving them a solution or even crafting a solution that then they take away and work with. It is that loop, that ecosystem, that end-to-end, and the technologies to be able to visualize the data. I think those things together is the design mantra for our company, for iMerit, and I think it is for the industry as well. So wanted to hear your comments on that.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. In fact, as you were talking about this, the thing that was running through my head is, as an industry and as a community, we're still in the very early stages of coming up with what I would call recipes or cookbooks or design patterns for how you want to think about data in an end-to-end system, right? And I think the autonomous vehicle industry is probably at the forefront, and being able to learn from them, distill some of these design patterns, integrate them, and maybe automate them into tools will really help us bootstrap and accelerate the adoption of ML in so many other industries. We had people come and talk about agriculture and ag tech and what's going on there. We had people come and talk about the medical space, which is already seeing so much adoption of AI and ML, and data is going to be incredibly important there. I think there's a huge opportunity to be able to take and codify some of these design patterns and build them into these tooling as we think about this. I also think you have to do this, I think Hussein remarked upon how important safety was, and safety is just one aspect of responsibility that comes with this. So I think there is a huge opportunity here, but I think you also need to think about this from a responsible perspective. So, I know you've thought about this a lot, so maybe you can, share some of your thoughts and how you see this playing out.
Yeah, I think for me, the safety, security, scaling, these are three very important things as we actually go into the field with the models we have, the products we have. Because this is going to be at every step of the way. The scaling is going to be even higher. Somebody was talking about the fact that there is more data coming in than than the organization itself. And so for every organization that is happening. So the scaling and being able to select the data that is of the highest quality, the discernment becomes very important, right? So that gives you that. The next step is the security and safety, and the safety being important, whether you're in an autonomous vehicle or when you listen to the whole MedAI panel and the importance of the safety around that. I mean, that's a human safety involvement as it is in autonomous vehicles. And every step of the way, we have to integrate that aspect of it. And the security, all of this data is going to be widely available. I mean, so much of our effort goes into the InfoSec aspects and the cybersecurity aspects of things. So those three things coming together, I call that my 3 S's, and I put it up there every day and look at it, the safety, the security, and the scaling. I think those three coming together from the infrastructure viewpoint is a critical element, both of my takeaway today. And Ankit from Infinite has talked about, and I like the way he said, you make each problem small enough and focused enough that you can automate and solve it. So what that means is technology, like the technologies they've come up with, at every step looks at a piece of it, and we look at automating that. And the next time you've gone further, and it's an evolving process, and you look at the next steps. That is why this ecosystem has to be working together. We've got to have the intelligence humans in the loop with the technology, and you're continuously evolving this. And for me, the ability to be part of this community that takes AI forward, I want to look, rather I would say it the other way. I don't want to look 10 years from now, or 5 years from now even, and say, oh, we need to bridge the AI divide. I want to work on that today. There is no bridging. It is designed into the AI. The equity is designed in, the ability and the breadth of applications are designed in, designing it into precision agriculture, into healthcare, into disasters, into, it becomes, AI becomes actually, the responsible AI aspect is very, very important. And DJ talked about AI as becoming the responsible AI through all societal applications. And I want that design to happen today through both the technology, the talent, and the techniques we adopt. So going through all of this. So that is my wish in terms of being able to design AI into a broader set of societal applications.
That is awesome. I think that's an amazing vision. And I know that as a community, we're just getting started, and I cannot wait to see us go from here to that vision that you just outlined. Thank you, Radha.
So let me say to everybody who participated today, thank you all so much for being part of this summit as speakers, as panelists, sharing your thoughts, sharing your questions, the feedback we received from you from the surveys. And really, we are pretty overwhelmed. And I know TechCrunch is too. TechCrunch said this is one of their biggest conferences. The interest in the ML DataOps space, the space that is crucial into the next steps of getting AI. And you remember I said right in the beginning, it's the first steps, the baby steps towards this large, what's in front of us in taking AI into production, you could call it the last mile, but it's a last mile with a very, very long tail. And these are the first baby steps. And we will all work together as a community to make this happen. And being able to be part of this community and be in a space where we can play an integral role in it, and being able to bring together the global thought leaders and the speakers. Thank you all very much from all of us at iMerit, and Thank you, TechCrunch, for bringing this together. And thanks, Raghavan, for being on this, the finish line and partnering with us. Thanks.